Coming up on Chapman News, we talk with a disability rights advocate about California's new Care Court, a program that can mandate treatment for those with mental illness and addiction.
Also, now that COVID guidelines here in OC have eased up, how do those who are most vulnerable to the virus feel about it?
And a new concert venue is coming to Irvine. We have the details.
From Dodge College of Film and Media Arts, this is Chapman News.
Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of Chapman News. I'm Gavin Nguyen.
And I'm Avery Feldman. We begin today with a crisis in Los Angeles city politics.
LA City Councilmember Nury Martinez announced today she is taking a leave of absence. This follows the release of leaked recordings of racist comments she made in a meeting in October of last year. The comments Martinez made were about City Council member Mike Bonin's young adopted son, who is black. She also made disparaging comments against other politicians. Martinez issued a statement apologizing for her actions, and she stepped down as council president but remains on the council. There are calls for her to resign and also for the other two lawmakers who were part of the conversation, Jill Cedillo and Kevin De Leon.
Protests against the Islamic Republic of Iran continue this week, nearly 4 weeks since Mahsa Amini died in Iranian police custody. Protests and walkouts have been taking place in the cities of Abadan and Asaluya, both cities being crucial centers for oil and national gas refineries. The uprising is being met with force from Iranian government, who has deployed armed security forces across the country, imprisoning and killing many. College students especially continue to be a big voice against the republic. Young women have started a trend of breaking dress code and cutting their hair. Political figures from both Sweden and Belgium joined in on the trend, making a statement against Iran by cutting their hair during EU Parliament meetings.
Until the women of Iran are free, we are going to stand with you. Jian, Azadi, women, life, freedom.
Russia has unleashed its most intense missile attacks on Ukraine in months. The attacks come after an explosion this past weekend that heavily damaged the only bridge that connects Russia with Crimea. According to Russian and Ukrainian officials, a truck crossing the Crimean bridge exploded as a train carrying fuel tanks was passing on the neighboring railroad. The damage completely shut down the bridge for a time, but some of the highway section has since been reopened. The attack cripples Russian supply routes, leaving troops in Russian-occupied Crimea unable to resupply ammunition and food. Putin has declared the explosion a terrorist attack from Ukraine and ordered the missile strikes on Ukraine's major cities. Ukraine officials have denied responsibility for the attack, but celebrated the bridge's destruction. Russia illegally annexed Crimea in 2014. The bridge was seen as a symbol of Russian power and a major military target for Ukraine.
Former Chapman Law professor John Eastman is making headlines again. The House Select Committee investigating Eastman's involvement in the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol says he has been consistently unreliable throughout the hearings. The committee recently alleged that Eastman had been hiding his communications from investigators by insisting that some of his emails were communications with his own attorney, which makes them confidential. Eastman is now resisting the committee's call to turn over 562 additional notes from his Chapman University email account. The next public hearing for the House Select Committee will be this Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Jury selection is underway for Harvey Weinstein's sex crimes trial in Los Angeles. The ex-film producer has already served 2 years of his 23-year sentence from a previous conviction. Now he will face accusers including Jennifer Siebel Newsom, California Governor Gavin Newsom's wife. In court, Jennifer Newsom will be known as Jane Doe No. 4. She is a documentarian and producer who alleges Weinstein raped her between September 2004 and 2005. She first shared her experience in a 2017 Huffington Post article. Jury selection is expected to last for the next 2 weeks, with the trial starting at the end of the month.
Governor Newsom recently signed new legislation establishing a court system designed to aid Californians who suffer from untreated mental illness and substance abuse. Under the CARE, or Community Assistance Recover and Empowerment Program, Unhoused people with schizophrenia and psychosis can involuntarily be given treatment. A police officer, family member, or healthcare provider can submit a petition for someone to be sent to care court. If the court finds any schizophrenia or psychotic disorders during clinical diagnosis, that person gets assigned to a care plan. The legislation supporters see it as an important step to address the state's homeless crisis. But as Alexandra Konyarts reports, not everyone agrees.
Care Court is a new system that is being implemented to address homelessness and mental health issues in California. I will be speaking with Andy Imparato of Disability Rights California about why they are opposed.
We're very concerned that the people who are eligible for Care Court do not have to be accused of committing any crime. And we don't understand why the state's not trying to prioritize this population for housing and services without forcing them to go through a court system. Care Court is targeting 7,000 to 12,000 people in California who have schizophrenia or psychosis and either are currently unhoused or at risk of being unhoused. People are more likely to get diagnosed with schizophrenia if they're African American. They're more likely to get an incorrect diagnosis of schizophrenia if they're African American. They're also more likely to be unhoused if they're African American. So we're concerned that we're giving the counties and the state a new tool to take away rights from people who are African American living on the streets. And we think this tool is going to be used in a way that is traumatizing for the population that the governor is trying to serve.
Do you have any alternate ways that the government could handle situations like the homelessness growing issue in California, as well as mental health issues?
A broad consensus among folks who work closely with the unhoused population around something called housing first. The concept is if you want to serve people who are unhoused, the first thing you need to do is provide stable housing. Once they have stable housing, it's much easier to connect them with other services like mental health services to help them recover, to help them get on a path towards recovery and on a path towards long-term sustainable housing. And housing first is evidence-based, it's well-established. Care Court is a new idea. There's no evidence base that supports it. We just don't think it's going to work.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your opinion with me today. That was very valuable and very insightful as well.
Disability Rights is one of 40 organizations that has come out in opposition to Care Court. Orange County is in the first group of counties that will implement the new system. If you are looking for a spot to celebrate Latin and Hispanic Culture Month, look no further than the Anaheim Marketplace. The Anaheim Marketplace is Orange County's largest swap meet, featuring vendors, delicious food, and live performances. Almost 35% of Orange County's population is Hispanic or Latino. Luciero Ciprian is marketing assistant at the Anaheim Marketplace. She says she tries to stay as close to her culture as possible.
I'm just so lucky, I think, to work here because I've actually learned more about from where I'm from than if I were to end at another place.
Lucero says she is glad to give others the chance to connect with their heritage. Vendor Estiel Jimenez says the marketplace gives her an opportunity to give back.
I love doing this because this is also a way for us to bring artesania to the people who are here in the United States and don't have access to it.
Lucero says her favorite part of her culture is the tradition of community. She says the Anaheim Marketplace gives OC's Latin and Hispanic communities the perfect opportunity to come together.
And here on the Chapman University campus, the Latinx Club is taking issue with the term Hispanic Heritage Month. National Hispanic Heritage Month started on September 15th and continues until October 15th. Sylvia Miranda is the vice president of the Latinx Club at Chapman. She says the Latinx Club recognizes the month as a Latinx Heritage Month, not Hispanic Heritage Month, because the term Hispanic includes all Spanish speakers.
The Spanish colonized us, and so to recognize that feels kind of, it feels wrong. It feels wrong to recognize our colonizers, and so we, as the Latinx Club, and I, in my everyday life, and just me as Sylvia, I will forever recognize the Latinx Heritage Month.
Throughout the course of the month, the club has been hosting various events and supporting local businesses to promote awareness of Latinx culture. The city of Irvine will soon begin construction of an amphitheater the size of the Hollywood Bowl. Chapman News reporter Emma Charles has the details.
Irvine City Council voted to approve a project to build a new amphitheater in Great Park. The project will cost about $130 million. The city will pay for the project, but the company Live Nation will pay rent and be in charge of bringing in at least 25 shows a year. City manager Oliver Cheese says the city would pay for the construction and we would own the facility on a move-forward basis. The city says the project will create hundreds of new jobs and will be done by the 2025 concert season. The city manager says it will generate over $30 million for local businesses as well as $40 million for the city. Tonight, the city council will have another meeting to discuss the details of the venue. I'm Emma Charles reporting for Chapman News.
In other local news, the Irvine Company will begin construction of nearly 1,200 new homes here in Orange. The new community will be called Orange Heights. It will border Irvine Regional Park in between Santiago Canyon and Jamboree. The developer says Orange Heights will feature public trails for hikers, bikers, and equestrians. The trails will connect Irvine Regional Park to Peters Canyon Regional Park for the first time. The original plans for Orange Heights were approved by the City of Orange in 2005, but since that time, the project has been downsized by nearly 70%. After Irvine Company owner Donald Bren pledged to preserve over 57,000 acres of his Irvine Ranch property in order to conserve the natural landscape. Construction is set to begin this fall. The Irvine Company's goal is for model homes to be available in the early 2026. Like the rest of the country, Orange County is learning to live with COVID as it sits at the low community risk level, meaning COVID and mask regulations have eased up. The California Department of Public Health recommends adjusting your COVID precautions based on your county's current risk level. At the low level, Orange County residents are advised to wear a mask if you're experiencing symptoms or were recently exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID-19. Otherwise, wearing a mask is up to your own discretion. We spoke with an immunocompromised Orange resident, Nathan Zing, on his thoughts on the newest COVID guidelines.
I just don't know where they've been, so I have to look out for myself for that part. And if those people want to be, considerate, maybe they can wear a mask too if they know they've been at a big gathering or something.
The Centers for Disease Control recommends staying up to date on your COVID and booster vaccinations. California residents 12 and older are now eligible for the updated booster vaccine, and appointments are available at local grocery stores and pharmacies.
Wanting to get into the fall spirit? I have more on all you can do at the Irvine Park Railroad Pumpkin Patch after the break.
I'm Langley Tersani. Coming up next, let's talk bioluminescence in this week's weather forecast.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzed and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Angela Lansbury, a 7-time Tony Award-winning performer and Hollywood actress, died this morning. Lansbury voiced Miss Potts in the 1991 animated film Beauty and the Beast and starred in Murder, She Wrote, where she played a Jessica Fletcher, an amateur detective and mystery writer. She won her 7th Tony, a Lifetime Achievement Award, in June of this year. She was 96.
California has recently experienced an increase in earthquake activity. Santa Rosa in Northern California has had quakes with magnitudes of 4.4, and there have been more frequent quakes in Southern California. This has led to concern about the likelihood that a larger magnitude earthquake is on the horizon. A new study by Harvard scientists conclude the Southern California Palos Verdes fault zone, which runs through the Long Beach and Los Angeles harbors, could produce a major quake as strong as 7.8 in magnitude. So what may be causing the increase in earthquakes? Chapman science professor Dr. Ramesh Singh says fracking may be a contributor.
Apart from the fault line, why the earthquakes occur in Oklahoma or Texas and also in LA County, because we are extracting oil and gas. So there are fracking, cracking, and that also causes earthquakes.
Dr. Singh also says that despite difficulty in pinpointing exactly when an earthquake will occur, GPS provides stress information for predicting triggers of quakes. Large magnitude quakes are rare, but he says it's still important for communities to conserve electricity and be mindful of safe building construction. Chapman University community members might notice some changes to the landscaping around campus, but it's more than just a cosmetic change. Instead, the university is converting to drought-tolerant plants. The new plants and irrigation systems are part of an effort to save 450,000 gallons of water each year, a 20% reduction in water usage. Chapman Jr. Rama Bedri is interning with the Irvine Ranch Water District. She says grass is being replaced because it is one of the thirstiest plants, eating up all of the outdoor water supplies.
So by removing the grass and putting in drought-tolerant landscaping, which require very minimal water, we can save our water resources because we're in a drought.
Jenny Kaufman with Chapman's Office of Sustainability says there will be landscaping all over campus. The office is also sponsoring an Eco-Olympics, where the residence hall that reduces their water use the most in October will get a $50 gift card for each resident.
We know rising ocean tides are slowly eroding our SoCal beaches, removing sediment and sand. Here in Orange County, Seal Beach is one of the communities that is experiencing beach erosion every year, as the sand on East Beach slowly disappears. A 2019 study by the City of Seal Beach concluded there is a possible flooding danger if beach erosion and the rising sea levels are not addressed. Last month, Seal Beach experienced some significant flooding after the remnants of Hurricane K hit the city. As a result, the city began building up its berms to prevent future flooding and preserve beachside property. A resident of Seal Beach, Carrie LaCoy, says flooding is a major issue for the city.
It is going to get worse as years go on, so they need to actually start implementing something to not just put berms up.
If sea levels keep rising and beach erosion isn't addressed, it is feared Seal Beach in the future will see flooding and reach its popular boardwalk or even as far as the Pacific Coast Highway. Speaking of the beach, have you seen what's been glowing on in some of our beaches?
I can't say I have.
Well, Langley Tersani has that and more with the weather. Langley?
This is the time of year when SoCal nighttime beachgoers can experience the natural phenomenon of glowing waves. The bright blue bioluminescent waves are back in Newport Beach. The neon blue is formed from a large mass of microscopic plankton producing bioluminescence. The waves are best seen late at night and during the new moon. These beautiful waves are visible for 1 week only, so make sure to visit the beach sometime this week. Now for our weather forecast. I'm excited to report that as we enter the second weekend of October, it is finally starting to feel a bit like fall, at least by Southern California standards. Look at that, not even breaking 80 degrees today. Right now in Orange, it is 76 degrees and partly cloudy. I love to see that it's finally starting to cool down. And moving on to our national forecast. Up on the west coast, up in San Francisco, we have 61 degrees, and a bit further north in Seattle, we're at 62 degrees. Out in the desert in Las Vegas, it is at 87 degrees. I don't see much fall weather in their near future. Meanwhile, Denver is enjoying a nice 75-degree day, and down in Austin, it is 85 degrees. Moving over to Minneapolis, it is 78 degrees, and Chicago is the only city in our national forecast today that is expecting any rain, and 64 degrees. And a shout out to my hometown of Pittsburgh. I'm sure my family is enjoying their 70-degree day. It is 68 degrees up in New York, and moving down the coast, It is 74 degrees in Atlanta and 85 in Miami. And moving on to our local forecast. Up in Westminster, it is 73 degrees, and then inland, 74 in Irvine and Mission Viejo, and on those coastal cities of Newport Beach, Laguna, and San Clemente, we have 70 degrees across the board. So overall, a very temperate day in Orange County. Not exactly swimming weather, but in my professional opinion, it's a good temperature for a walk on the beach. And here's our weekly forecast here in the city of Orange. Wow, my job is easy today. Partly cloudy all week. Highs in the high 70s today and tomorrow, high at 81 on Wednesday, and then back down to 76. And then, wow, just 72 on Saturday. Well, that's all from me on weather this week. Back to you.
What are your plans for this weekend, Gavin?
I was thinking of carving some pumpkins.
Really? Well, I know the perfect place that you can find some. Caroline Applegate is live at a local pumpkin patch with more on how to have fun this spooky season. Caroline?
Thank you, Gavin and Avery. I'm live here at the Irvine Park Railroad Pumpkin Patch. Behind me are a lot of pumpkins to choose from. This is a great spot for family and friends. The pumpkin patch is open September 17th through October 31st for the general public. People come from all over Orange County and all the way from LA County and San Diego for the festivities. On September 24th every year, there's the Great Pumpkin Weigh Off, where the winner for the largest pumpkin wins $6,700.
The champion this year brought a pumpkin that weighed just over 1,500 pounds. So they bring them in on their trucks, and then we have a forklift that puts them on a ginormous scale.
The pumpkin patch has so many fun activities, especially for kids. It is the perfect young family weekend activity. There's so much you can do, from face painting to pumpkin decorating to a pumpkin ring toss.
We have the train ride year round, but the hay ride is a little bit of a longer route that goes to the back of the park, and it's driven by a big John Deere with a bumpy ride along, so that's one of my favorites.
For some families, coming to the pumpkin patch is a tradition. We asked some frequent pumpkin patch goers their favorite memories over the years.
About the train, when I was little, I used to love riding the train, but now I don't ride the train a lot, but I still ride it sometimes.
I'm Harper, and one of my favorite things at the pumpkin patch is going to the Haunted Mansion.
I don't want to just get one pumpkin. I usually get like 5 pumpkins or something.
My name's Andy, and I love going on the train.
We visited the pumpkin patch on a Thursday afternoon during the quiet hours, but it was still lively and busy. The weekends get crazy with every family enjoying all of the fall festivities. I want to know how to grow a 1,500-pound pumpkin. I'm going to have to start researching some gardening techniques. I'm Caroline Applegate for Chapman News. Back to you at the desk.
I'm Kate Worsham. Coming up on Chapman News, I'll have the latest on MLB wildcard games, our own Panther sports updates, and big controversy in the world of F1. Stay tuned.
I'll be seeing you in all of our favorite places with laughter and warm embraces all day through.
Elmo loves you.
I love you too.
With free COVID-19 vaccines, sunnier days are ahead. Visit getVaccineAnswers.org.
I'll be seeing you.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities. And this cat makes me make art because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Orange County Museum of the Arts celebrated its grand opening this past Saturday with 24 hours of art, live music, and interactive activities. Over 10,000 people lined up next to the Segerson Center to see over 4,500 pieces of art on display. Hourly activities include midnight fireworks, 3 a.m. tarot card readings, and sunrise yoga. The museum is now open Tuesday through Sunday, and admissions will remain free for all attendees for the next 10 years.
The City of Orange Fire Department welcomed hundreds of residents to celebrate the grand opening of its new fire station on East Chapman Avenue. The new station doubles as the City Fire Department's headquarters and replaces the aging Station 1 located a few blocks away on Grand Street. The old station was smaller and seismically unsafe. The new facility is much larger, and staff say it gives the department more freedom to do its job effectively. From the mayor to the fire chief, everyone is happy to finally take in the facility, including longtime Orange residents Nick and Diane Arhantes.
I'm very proud to have this in our city. I think it's a really nice addition now.
The building cost roughly $22 million. Fire officials say highlights include a bigger lot to store more equipment and direct access to a main road. Hey Avery, are you going to the Dodgers game today?
No, because I'll definitely be watching the Mariners tonight. Now, here's Kate with more on the MLB wildcards and all things sports.
Welcome to the Best Campus Sports Show. I'm Kate Worsham, joining you for the first time on the other side of the desk, and I am so ready to talk sports. It was a busy weekend for our Panther athletes. Both men's and women's soccer faced Caltech last Saturday, resulting in a 7-2 win for the men's team, who are now ranked #1 in SCIAC, and a 3-0 win for the women's team. The Panthers also took on Caltech in women's volleyball, defeating them in just 3 sets. Congrats to all of our teams on the sweep of Caltech. And finally, football took on Claremont Mudscripts on the road, resulting in a 28-6 loss for the Panthers. They will play Redlands at home on Saturday night. We're only in week 5 of NFL play, and there are already some interesting storylines. The Giants bested the Packers 27-22 in London on Sunday, despite missing several key players due to injury, moving to 4-1 on the season and a perfect record at Tottenham Stadium. Tom Brady remains undefeated in his career against the Falcons, with the Bucs winning 21-15 on Sunday. The Texans took their first win of the season in a very forgettable game for Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And finally, the Carolina Panthers have fired head coach Matt Rule, once a hot commodity, after suffering a loss to the San Francisco 49ers. Starting the season 1-4, Rule led the Panthers to only 10 victories in 3 seasons as head coach. And it wouldn't be a proper October sports update without talking baseball. The MLB wildcard games took on a new format, and it was just the beginning in what's shaping up to be a wild postseason. In years past, wildcard games have been single elimination style. This year, a wildcard series was implemented, with the winner in a best-of-3 format moving on to the divisional series, and the loser being eliminated from the postseason. After a weekend filled with baseball, the postseason will be in full swing starting tonight. The divisional series will start with the New York Yankees taking on the Cleveland Guardians, the Atlanta Braves versus the Philadelphia Phillies, my LA Dodgers taking on the San Diego Padres, and the Houston Astros, hopefully losing to the Seattle Mariners. And some controversial news in the world of motorsports. 25-year-old Red Bull racing driver Max Verstappen was crowned the Formula One Drivers' Champion last Sunday, following the Japanese Grand Prix, 4 races before the conclusion of the 2022 season.
Max Verstappen has taken the checkered flag to win the Japanese Grand Prix.
Charlie got a 5-second penalty there after the little sort of race we had with Sergio. World champion.
Well, what can I say? Incredible, of course.
Verstappen backs up his 2021 championship with 12 wins, 9 more than closest rival this season, Charles Leclerc of Ferrari Racing, and 14 podiums. The championship comes as a result of a rainout in Suzuka, and a curiously worded rule that had Verstappen, team manager Christian Horner, and pretty much all of Formula One confused as to how he had secured the championship. But Verstappen and Red Bull are no strangers to controversy surrounding their championship efforts. It was announced yesterday by the FIA that Red Bull Racing and Aston Martin had breached the cost cap rules during the 2021 season, in which they won the Drivers' Championship for the first time since 2013. No details have been given on a potential penalty, which could range from a fine to the removal of their 2021 title. Well, that's all I got for you today. I'm Kate Worsham, and I'll see you next week on the Best Campus Sports Show.
Hey everybody, I'm Josh Blinder. Blinders Off is coming up after the break, and we'll break down some of the dangers on TikTok. Stay tuned.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
A Dodge College alumni has a major hit on his hands after his first feature film is #1 at the box office 2 weekends in a row. 35-year-old Parker Finn wrote and directed the horror film Smile. It grossed $22 million for its opening weekend at the box office. That is the highest grossing theatrical release for a film made by a Dodge alumni. Last month, Finn came back to campus to screen Smile in the Foligno Theater, and he participated in a Q&A session with students. He talked about the movie production process and the importance of sticking to his own creative ideas. He told students to not allow other voices to confuse their vision. Finn is definitely getting attention. Horror legend himself, Stephen King, even gave a shout out to the film's success on Twitter. I wish I spent more time watching movies than on TikTok.
Well, I don't even have the app on my phone, but our Josh Blinder has a lot more on TikTok trends. Josh, take it away.
Thanks, Gavin Avery. It's time to take those blinders off our eyes and look at some wild trends people are doing right now. I'm sure you're familiar with TikTok and you've seen those wild videos or unique dances that people do. Trends on the app inspire creativity, but some of these videos are people doing outrageous tasks or stunts that could lead to a recipe for disaster, literally. People have posted clips of basting their chicken with NyQuil and then eating it. As bird-brained as that sounds, it still had the FDA telling the public about the dangers it presents. Another current TikTok trend is putting people in danger. It's called the blackout challenge. This is where people take videos of themselves holding their breath in the attempt to pass out. A success in this challenge means participants actually black out. Sadly, attempts have led to the death of multiple teenagers. Do you remember the cha-cha slide dance? Well, the resurgence of the cha-cha challenge has led people to right foot let stomp ping on the brakes, with people swerving their cars in rhythm with the cha-cha slide song. I love reversing, but you'll probably see me doing it only on a dance floor instead of the middle of a highway. That's all I have today for Blinders Off. I'll be back next week with another edition. Please, no more dancing cars. Back to you guys.
Be sure to check out our YouTube page at chapmannews.tv and make sure to follow us at Chapman News. I'm Gavin Nguyen.
And I'm Avery Feldman. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Tuesday with more Chapman News.